Yo, welcome back to the tap. Welcome back to the tap. This is your host, Real Estate Steve, and introduce yourself for us.
My name is Ryan Ingram. I'm in real estate as well.
There you go. We're gonna get into a little bit of real estate. Your boy Grant Cardone had some gems he dropped. Let's listen to it, and then we're gonna comment on it.
Buying a house, worst investment you'll ever make in your entire life. Let's say you paid $1 million to buy a house. Average house here is $576. $576 is what you paid. Now you need 12% for broker fees. Let's say you keep the house 10 years. You need 10% in maintenance fees. It's 1% a year in maintenance fees. It's about 2% in property taxes every year. That's 20%. 2 times 10 is 20. And it's probably 7% to the bank, so that's 70%. Total those up, it's 112%. $576,000 home will have to be sold for $1.2 million in 10 years. You're not going to sell it for that. To break even, dead money, and you had to put $100,000 down to do this. They're serving a master. They'll borrow money from the Bank of America, and then if they can get some more money, they'll have a little retirement account that funds Wall Street. This is a big game, bro. Rather than buying one house, rent where you live, and take that $100,000 and go buy a piece of real estate where other people live. I just don't need to own a home on the way up. I need to own assets that pay me on the way up. And once I have enough cash flow from the assets, then if I want to go buy a house or a watch or a car, I buy it out of the passive income.
I believe the American dream is some BS that was sold to us. Buy a house, nice picket fence, a car, a good school district. That's all cool, but do you really calculate the true expenses when it's all said and done? 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. But what he was saying is, yeah, when you buy a house and it's $400,000, even if you go on a conventional, that's what? 20% down, right? A conventional loan?
If it's owner occupied, you can get to some pretty low percentage interests.
But like, so for the standard American dream, like if you're just trying to buy a home for like your kids and your family in a nice school district, normally what you would do is you would save 20% down, or I think some of them go lower than that, but to get rid of PMI, right? You would save 20% down.
Yeah, PMI drops off at 20.
Exactly. And then you get into the house. Now you got your mortgage payment, you got your taxes and all that is lumped into the mortgage payment, but maintenance on the house, HVAC, electrical, anything that goes wrong, you're responsible for fixing. I mean, there's home warranty deeds, but the gist of what I'm saying is people don't factor how much maintenance, upgrades, remodel, all that type of stuff that's when you buy a house.
You did some wild math to talk about how you're going to need to sell it for about $1 million 10 years later.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Okay, so I think what a lot of people don't know is when you buy a house and you put it on your standard 30-year mortgage and then you don't pay extra for the first, 14, 15 years, you pretty much paying interest, maybe $10, $20 towards the principal. Is those numbers about right? Something like that, right?
I think so. I think you really start probably after, I think it's like year 8, somewhere in there. I mean, close enough. It's mainly interest, what you're paying. They're heavy on the front side of interest.
Exactly.
And then heavy on the back end on the principal pay down.
So the bank basically get their money up first.
Right.
And then the back end, you'll start paying yours down unless you double up on your payments or pay more towards the principal.
Right.
But that's just crazy to realize you buy a house and 30 years later, when you do the math, you pay triple for the house. When you include taxes and maintenance and interest and everything else, if you paid your normal payment, you're paying triple for the house. Yes, it went up in equity. Most houses do in a good neighborhood, but it's like, how much did you really pay for that house? To me, that's crazy. And that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about. Unplugging from the matrix. I think it's a better way, actually, to buy a house, to go about it. I have a couple of ideas, but for me, I think you should really redefine what your first house is for. Your first house shouldn't be your forever home. I honestly think you should get a house in terms of your exit strategy when you get it. Is this house big enough that I could rent it out later down in the future and someone else can pay my mortgage for a better? Is it I can rent this house out in the future and someone else can pay my mortgage for a bigger house? You know what I'm saying? You have to think in terms of assets, not liabilities. And the more assets you have, yes, it's true, they can pay for your lifestyle and your liabilities. What do you think about that?
I think the American dream is still alive and well. I would say it probably has gotten significantly harder, or perhaps the kind of the steps of the game have changed, whereas buying a house might not be the first thing that you should do whenever you're able. But I definitely think that owning a house in America is probably pretty high up there on like what you should strive for and a good spot to be in life. Now, I do think, to your point, a lot of planning goes into that, and your first house shouldn't be anything impressive,
Right.
but rather like a stepping stone to get you to where ultimately you want to be. I think renting is really ideal for people just starting out on a real tight budget, trying to build up their wealth, like you were saying, so that you could very predictably see your money coming in, and all your money going out can be pretty consistent on a monthly basis. You know, I kind of think the same thing about cars, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was always my biggest point of frustration is I don't know much about cars, and anytime I had a good run of, you know, saving, and I was able to put some money back when I was just starting out, you know, on my first job, I would have like a $2,000, $3,000 unexpected vehicle expense.
Right.
And it set me back, and there was no way that I could have predicted it. And, you know, I know so little about vehicles that I had no idea whether or not people were telling me the truth on what needed to be done with it.
Right.
And I think you can get yourself, you know, there's a lot more zeros on the end of it, unless you're in the Midwest and, you know, Dayton, Ohio, where you can still buy houses for about the same price as a car. But yeah, if you are not knowledgeable on the inner workings of a house, how much things should cost, or you're just starting out and your budget is really tight, I would agree, specifically with Grant, that buying a house might not be for you. But as soon as you know, are comfortable in your finances, you've got a nest egg, you've got, you know, you're stacking up your skills so that you could make a higher income. I definitely think that owning a house is a pivotal part of your financial journey prior to, and setting yourself up good for retirement, if you've got, you know, longer than 30 years ahead of you.
I want to take it back to, because I'm trying to think about the 18-year-old me.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard the saying, I wish I knew now? Then
Oh yeah, youth is
Listen.
wasted on the young.
Man, I'm telling you, like, the way real estate has went, and I've been blessed in real estate. I've never had buyer remorse so far. I've picked good spots, good locations, snatched up houses for $30K and really good profits, good bones. You know, if I was 18 again, if I was young again, man, delayed gratification is big. I wouldn't have bought half as many clothes, the cars, like you saying. I really would have just cracked down, especially to my young brothers out there and sisters. If you young and you ain't got no kids, real estate is such a good thing to invest in. I will be working 2-3 jobs, stacking my money up, maybe try to get you something foreclosed, sweat equity, you know what I mean? And just really build my financial future that way, whether I'm holding it, whether I'm renting it, whether I'm selling. But in Dayton, I've been hearing Dayton on the map more so from all these podcasts, Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati. We're considered the Midwest, but our numbers are good, bro. Like, I've literally took houses for $30K and sold them for $170, $175, and I've done a lot of the work myself. But Dayton is such a gem, you're not going to pull those numbers out anywhere else. Like, you got to California, you ain't getting those numbers. You got to Phoenix, you got to Atlanta, you go south, definitely not pulling those numbers. But Dayton is such a gem. We're an hour away from Columbus, an hour away from Cincinnati, and you can get some prime real estate out here. But to the younger generation, man, you just have to delay the gratification. Put the SRT8s on hold, put the Dodge Challengers on hold, put all that materialistic on hold and focus on real estate and accumulating assets. And then later on, people will pay for your toys, your liabilities. Easier said than done, because when I was 18, I wasn't even thinking that way. I popped out kids early. I was trying to get married. I was renting. I didn't know what I was going to do. But man, ever since real estate has opened my eyes, bro, it's been like game changing, man. A way I can provide for my kids, my family, legacy. I don't even look at, like, that American dream. I don't even look at keeping a house for 30 years. Honestly, I like to move around and I like to force equity. So when I'm in a house like the one I'm in right now, I might be there for 5-6 years just because my kids are 15 and 16, but I'm thinking further down the line. So when they graduate, what do I need a 5-bedroom house for? And then I forced to appreciate equity. So at that point, when they graduate, I think the whole let's keep a house in the family is kind of old school. Let's keep Big Mama's house in the family. No, let's use Big Mama house and pull that equity out and grow, and then we can pass on multiple properties down to the family. But it's just a mindset. What you think? I know I say a lot, but what you think about that?
The most recent thing about the generational wealth and all that, yeah, I think real estate is definitely an avenue. I think passing down the primary home, probably overdone. A lot of variables there. Only one kid could live in it.
Yeah, right.
Their career could take them anywhere, or what they want to do in life. It's probably not ideal. But I mean, if you look, a lot of the Midwest is also sprinkled with, Rockefeller homes here locally. James Cox, he has several large homes here. His business is still around, Cox Media Group, but they relocated to Atlanta, and his family. I think his daughter is still alive, and or maybe she just passed the business to her son. But it's not that many generations removed, is my whole point. And their family homes are here, and they don't want anything to do with them. So I think you're right on passing down one home is probably short-sighted. And as far as, what your younger self is capable of, if you knew what you knew now, absolutely. I think the more you zoom out and look at the longer term vision for your life, you're probably going to be able to make bigger, more sophisticated moves than if you are short-sighted and just trying to figure out how to, get through the next paycheck, or how you're going to stack the first couple of grand. So yeah, I would say real estate easily out of the picture if you're not sitting on a comfortable amount of money. But I would say that's not something new. I would say that's probably been the case for real estate for decades, maybe a century or more now.
Yeah, I think with the podcast now, you have access to this information. Before you had to just meet with an old guy in a coffee shop.
Right.
Now you can just pull up a podcast, and it's normal people like me and you can really break it down and talk to you in terms where you get it. I'm not using terms like fiscal and this and that. I can just really talk to you and be real and be like, hey, this is what I did. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. But I know for a fact, when I was talking about delayed gratification, you can go through neighborhoods and see where the money is at. You can go through a neighborhood right now and you'll see a house that's the roof needs replaced. You got a tarp on it. You have gutters that's falling down. You have shingles. You have things of that nature. But then you have a brand new Dodge Challenger in the driveway, or you have a brand new this or brand new that. You have like $70,000 of brand new car sitting in the driveway, but it's like your money is in your property. And the effects of that, every property I sold in my neighborhoods, I set the market, and it's good for the neighbors. You know what I mean? Because everybody's house value go up. So it's kind of like it's a mental thing, and it's your priorities, but you have to be taught that. Forget trying to impress girls, forget trying to drive away in a new car, forget all that, because they're not gonna do them but give you a high ass interest rate anyway. You better off getting a home interest rate, whether it's a 203K, I don't know about that, or whatever the fact may be. That's where your money should be put in at. But it's like you have to get taught that. And I delayed my gratification, man. I wanted a sports car, but I didn't have no driveway to put it in. I was renting a house out. And that's when the light bulb went off for me personally. I was driving to Centerville to hand my check, my rental, his rent money, and give it to him. And he was in some lavish house in Centerville, and I was renting from him in Moraine. My rent, kid you not, then was only like $650, 2-bedroom house. Like, imagine that in a C-class neighborhood. But it just went off like, man, I want someone else to be giving me my money. Or have the setup he had, was what I'm trying to say. And that's when the light bulb went off in my head. And man, I worked 2 jobs, man, and I really grind and delayed gratification. I could have got the car I wanted then, but it's like, why would you do that with no garage? When I'm going to be one of those dudes who just put a tarp over my car? So my thought process was just prioritizing, man, honestly. So there's so many ways you can do it. That's why I love real estate. I mean, I could talk about real estate forever, man. What you got to add to it about delayed gratification and prioritizing, where your money goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think an obvious decision that you should be making, or thought process you should have in any decision financially that you're making, is this an asset that's going to appreciate, or is this something that's going to, lose value? So yeah, anything, if you're trying to build wealth, then buying or spending any money on something that's going to lose value over time is a horrible idea. So the more you can rewire your brain to only purchase things that are going to appreciate over time, or exist outside of the financial system. If you're trying to store money, don't do it in the dollar. Do it in real estate. I don't know much about cryptocurrency. Precious metals have historically been safe. So gold, silver, there's all sorts of ways that you can keep money. But if you're trying to get the first $5,000, $10,000, I mean, yeah, that should be in the dollar to keep you mobile. But yeah, I mean, I think every single decision that anybody should make, whether it is for a short-term goal or a long-term goal, should be, is this going to make me money over time or lose money? And I think, I know that there's a lot of temptations out there that you hit on, the cars, impressing other people.
Yeah.
But if your goal is, to have some money, then the rules of how to make money are pretty simple. And I would say, when I first learned about finances and my eyes first opened, kind of like that moment that you were talking about. Yeah, I was like, man, like this is it's kind of like a board game, right? Like how to make money is so easy, but nobody else is actually playing the game. It's almost like everybody that cares about money is playing a game of Monopoly, and other people are trying to play like Yahtzee on top of the Monopoly board. It's just not going to work, and these decisions are just real bad. So I understand that, like, people want to just blanket broadly knock on like the American dream or capitalism or all this stuff, but I mean, if you just learned the rules of the game and played, sure, you're starting significantly later than the people that we can point to that are extremely wealthy, and you've got family wealth that started 1,000 years ago still floating around there. But for you, for your family, for your life, you could start today just by playing by the proper rules, and you would be extremely impressed where you end up in 3, 5, 10 years, however long you want to delay this gratification.
No doubt. And I think with real estate, you can make it what you want, whether you want to be a tycoon, whether you want to buy the block, whether you just want to have 2 or 3 properties, whether you want to be a landlord, whether you want to do Airbnb split. Real estate is so broad, and there's so many avenues that you can go into. All you got to do is just educate yourself. And I think another thing, you got to surround yourself with the right people. I mean, that's big. That's big. If you surround yourself with people successful on a business, you're going to be the next one in line. But if you surround yourself with people who they're out going to the clubs, like I said, getting the new Jordans, still trying to stay in the line for the new Jordans, which is crazy to think about, you're going to follow suit. But for me, knowledge, man, is really knowledge. Learning about how money works, especially when you get into business, credit, loans, establishing relationships with banks. Bro, it like blows my mind. Like you said, it's not hard. It's just really that first one. But once you get that first one under your belt and you start to learn more, it just comes naturally, man. And I stay humble too. So I use money as a tool. As just a tool, as an asset to just help take care of me, my family, my kids, and I figured I would be the same even if I was a multi-millionaire. Hopefully I would, but I just try to stay humble, man, because you can't take none of this with you, and it's supposed to be used to help your family, and that's the joy I kind of get out of it. It's just helping people. When people buy my houses and they see my designs or my interior designs, and when they come in, their eyes light up and they can just envision their family. That's what really does it for me. And then renting, trying to get into Section 8 renting. So providing a safe house for maybe a single mom or her kids, somewhere they can be safe. That excites me, man. And I think the check is just the bonus thing. But just like my purpose, very purpose driven. And that really helps too, on whatever goals you have.
There's a book by Simon Sinek. It's Start With Why. And I think it's one of the basic books that you should probably read if you really want to change your life. But, one of the points that he made in an interview of his that I was watching is having a really big why is kind of like a strong magnet. So if you don't get up and work every day towards your why, then it's just not big enough. The magnet is not strong enough. And if you, zoom out, figure out exactly where you want to be, 10, 20, 30 years from now, and really line item it out and focus on that why, then, I mean, you're going to be drawn to working towards that like a magnet. Yep. And I think, the more pulled to that you are, the more kind of tunnel vision on that why you're going to get. Those people that you shouldn't surround yourself with, those bad financial decisions, all of those are going to get, in the blurry part of your vision. They're really not going to be important. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're struggling, one of the easiest and cost-effective things that you could do is just really zoom out and figure out exactly what you want in life and create your, why that is individual and specific to you, and go from there. And, to circle back fully to the American dream, I mean, a house might be in that why and it might not be, but the cool thing about the amount of information available to everybody now is you've got options. Yep. And it's so easy to learn about anything that you are interested in being involved in today.
No excuses, man.
Yeah.
Information is just a click away. And what you were saying on your purpose and your why, definitely game changer, bro. Like, personally, and I think you should formulate or design, rather, you should design the life you want to live down to the smallest detail. And that's what I did. I was working at a job for 10 years, actually. Me and my cousin, we were like 2 weeks apart, man. And every day for like that last year, we would talk on the phone, like, we walking away. We can't wait. Man, that whole last year, I was just gathering information, just watching videos, working on credit, business credit lines, just the whole 9 yards, man. And so one day I went up to my boss, right? And I asked him, how much money you got in your 401k? Like, when you retire, how much you want to have? You know what he told me? He was like, 200K. And that's after 30 years of working, right? And he was living American dream. I stay in the same city as he do now, actually, running some all the time. But he was like 200K. So I had just sold my first property like 2 months ago, and I sold it almost for 100K. And what he was talking about having, I'm like, I damn near got half that in my bank account. And it not to even boast or brag, but it just made me realize I'm worth more than what people say you're worth. So just because you're working at a job and you getting paid $20 an hour or making $60,000 a year and you busting your ass, if you sacrifice things, even if you have to work 8 hours and then go work 8 hours on your own purpose, it's going to pay off. But you really have to have that delayed gratification. And I only say that because it's possible, because I did it. And you know what I mean? I didn't have no silver spoon. I didn't have a whole bunch of properties passed down to me. I got it out the mud, bro. And like before I did real estate, I did lawn and landscape. And that's how I saved my 30K up for my first house. Cutting grass every day after work. I used to go to work with my trailer. 4 F-150 little raggedy one, just roll up to work, cutting grass. So I did what needed to be done. But that purpose, like you said, when you think about it and you visualize and you constantly, man, I just want to do this, I just want to do that. It fuels you. It honestly fuels you, bro. And then people you listen to motivate you more, information you take in, and you just really ignore all the negative and all the BS. And then it's easy to separate people who talk about what they're going to do and actually people who do what they're going to do. So that was what did it for me. It was an easy process, but I would say the American dream needs to be reshaped. I don't think no more it's working 30 years at a company. I honestly, man, I think that's dying, because when I was there, they was telling me Social Security, I won't be able to get that until 70. So you mean to tell me I got to work till I'm 70, bro? And like the age go up every year. So is it even going to be around? Who's to say? So it's kind of like you have to reshape the plan for your family. You know what I mean? Or they'll have you work until you damn near 75, 80.
Yeah, I would say that probably that time frame of the American dream where you could work for one company for 30 years was a pretty short thing. I wouldn't chalk that up to the American dream. But yeah, those days are long gone, as fast paced as technology has allowed for things to be. It's common for people to work 2 jobs at one time now, whereas, back when people said, worked for one company for 30 years, that wasn't possible. But now, with COVID, with work from home, there's all sorts of people. I think there's whole like online communities dedicated to people working 2 remote jobs at the same time. So I would say by and large, I agree. I mean, expecting your plan to be that somebody else is going to take care of you is probably like a bad one to have.
Yeah.
But, since we're talking about all this zoom out stuff, I think if you look at other countries, their financial landscape and the options available to them, I would say that America and the American dream is still very much so a real thing. And I mean, it has been a long journey for me to sit here and say this. And, when I first learned about how money worked, I couldn't stand, the US dollar and inflation and how, if you just set your money in a bank account, it's going to slowly go away. And, here lately after COVID, it's not so slow. You're probably losing 10 to 12% purchasing power on an annual basis. But, if you look at all of the available options so far, I know that, if you listen to some big YouTube personalities of the moment, a lot of them are real hard in crypto, talking about how it's going to change this for the better. And that's the way, but it's not here yet. And of all of the systems that are currently out there in other countries, I would say that America's most certainly operating on like the best of all possible solutions basis. So it has changed significantly, but I'm not knocking down any other doors of countries to go move there. Like I wouldn't change exactly where I'm at. There are more opportunities available to us here in America, and we just have to not be entitled, feeling like somebody owes us something, whether it's working at a job for 30 years or the government paying for our lifestyle after we get 60, 65. I think the whole concept of retirement, if you trace that, what was that, like Otto von Bismarck or something like that? I think it was something from the German Empire. I could be way off on this, but loosely paraphrasing what I think I know about retirement is it was solely created because the peers that he was trying to like have more power than, he noticed were all above a certain age. So he was just like, hey, the government will give you all this money if you just stop working on a daily basis. So it was kind of like a power move. So, I mean, the more personal responsibility that you take in your own life, the better off that you're going to be. And any type of, entitlement of this country owing you anything is probably misplaced. And if anything, just kind of holding you back. And, you've got all sorts of, first generation immigrants moving to America. I've become really good friends with a fellow that moved here from Morocco about at this point, maybe 6 years ago. And, he only moved here because he won the citizenship lottery that the country of Morocco does. And he's got 12 rental properties now, I believe, here in the area. And, he's getting after it. And that is absolutely life-changing. And then you've got people that have grown up here that are going around complaining about the lack of opportunity and the way that the system is against them. And, one of the more moving quotes that I heard when I embarked on this journey was, everything in the universe makes sense. And if you don't understand it, then you need to kind of change your perspective, because the way that it's working, there is some type of, universal balance or reasoning to it. And I would say 9 times out of 10, that if you just change your perspective on how something should work, you're going to be able to get to where you want to be significantly quicker than if you just kick, scream, complain, and feel like somebody owes you something.
No, I agree. I think that's the entitlement that you was talking about. And there's someone else I was listening to. That's why I'm doing me a meditation room. But he was saying, if you just sit in silence, a lot of people can't sit with themselves. No music, no nothing, just total silence. But 30 minutes and really think about your problem, you will come up with a solution like that. And I want to practice doing that. Like you said, if you just really sit within yourself, there's a solution to you live in the USA. There's a solution to your problem. We have so many freedoms, so many abilities, capabilities. Like I said, anything you want to research is on a phone right there, like arm's length. So he was saying, to get back to what he was saying, if you just sit in a room, within the first 15, 20 minutes, you'll start getting answers to your solutions. Just being in yourself and your thoughts, you'll start getting answers to your problem. So if the problem is you don't have enough money, okay, let me sit. Maybe I can get another job. Maybe I can cut back on my spending. Maybe I don't need to go to Starbucks every morning. Maybe I don't need to buy that new SRTA. Maybe I don't need to start spending all these money on girls, chasing girls or clothes or new J's or whatever the case may be. But just not having that entitled, like someone owes you anything. And I think that's kind of like well, I don't want to say masculine, but it's like when steel sharpens steel, man, we kind of talk that way to each other. Like, bro, no one owe you nothing, bro. You got to get out and you got to get it. No excuses. And that's why I like keeping a certain group of people around me, because like I said, steel sharpens steel. If I'm being lazy, they might call me out. Like me and my cousin, he'll call me out on my shit. He call me every day. He be like, you working? Yeah, I'm working. But he's like, all right, I'm just checking to make sure you working. There's money out here. When I'm driving around and I'm seeing the people doing the roofs on a cruise, that's why I love spring and summertime so much, because it just feels like real estate money to me. I like seeing roofs going up. Every time I'm at Home Depot, bro, I just got a number today, contractors, and it's still exciting to me. Is it still exciting to you, like real estate? For as long as you've been doing it, do you still have that thrill like you did when you first started?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's changed a lot over the years, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, every time I get a good deal, I feel accomplished. We're building a house right now. This is the first time that we've done it. My son and I, we homeschool. I've got 7 kids. My oldest is 7. We homeschool. Part of a homeschool project is we're building just a small house up in Northridge. And we've never done, for like real estate investment purposes, we've never done a build before. So the foundation was a big unknown. The framing was a big unknown, but the framing was just finished today. So it's all dried in, and we were pretty excited about it. It's cool to be able to impact your surroundings and also get rewarded for it. So I would say from that perspective, you can't beat it. And, I think having been in real estate so long now, we've actually been able to see the benefits of going into a concentrated area, buying a significant number of properties, specifically the worst ones on the street, and fixing those up. And now we're able to see the impact that has on the area, both in values and in the quality of the life of what it's like to live there.
Yep. So, as Jay-Z say, by the block, basically.
Yeah.
In so many words, you're buying it, you're controlling it, controlling people who live in there, and then you're moving up property values. Hey, good shit, man. Hey, so listen, y'all, good segment today. I'm telling y'all, if we talk about real estate, we can talk for hours. But hey, leave us your thoughts, your comments, and we'll have future episodes on real estate, because like I said, it's such a broad topic. You can dissect it any kind you want. But anyway, like, subscribe, let us know what you think. Until next time, I'm your boy Real Estate Steve. It's my boy Ryan. Peace.
Top 10 radar, yeah, we on your radar. Never miss, dog.